Players, past legends. Past legends.
Yeah, very similar.
Yeah.
But the look on your face was superb, Rowie.
Yeah.
I reckon that was a big part of it. And we'd won by that stage, so it was
Party time.
Yeah, it was, and it was great to be well in front of you in a grand final against Port Adelaide. So.
Well, there was a lot of emotions going through me that day because I always knew if I won a flag, I'd finish.
Yeah.
I had other things in life. Football was never going to define me, but I loved my Norwood days. So I wanted a flag. It wasn't greedy. One was enough. But if you roll back, we had a terrific year. After losing the 96 prelim, we were destined to win it the next year. Make no mistake.
Yeah.
From Jars to Macca to me to James West to Jerry Dantocchi, the senior blokes that were all in their 30s said enough was enough. And then the Johnny Cunninghams, the rest came for the ride.
I think we had about 10 in the state side too. James Tyson, Damien Obbs. We had a hell of a lot. Simon Eastow. Yeah.
Yep. I was in that state game. We played in Canberra. It was massive. So the last game of the year, I did my ankle badly. And I mean really badly. I don't know, it was a Liz Frank or something. And it's a 6-7 week injury. So I missed the whole final series. And I was training and working hard to get back. The prelim was against Centrals.
Centrals, yeah.
And Macca got reported hitting Stuart Dew.
Yep.
And I remember speaking to Rhodey, and he said, "Look, Rowie, if we're fit, I've got to tell you straight out, you're not going to make the grand final team." And you have to cop that. And I wouldn't have been in front of Sujay Cook or Cunningham, or those guys when they were fit and playing well. As good a season as I had, and as good a form that I was in. So Macca, my dearest of mates, the club great, gets reported. If he didn't get reported, I'm not a premiership player.
Yeah.
So when that siren goes, I had the most mixed feelings. I didn't run to a teammate. I ran to Macca, and Macca was the first out there.
Yeah.
And I hugged and sobbed, and I just felt for him and feeling lucky for myself.
Yeah.
And the emotions that went through that split moment, I'll never forget. And it means nothing to Macca. He wouldn't even remember that. But I beelined to him because there was a sense of guilt. There was a sense of appreciation. There was a sense of destiny. There was a sense of all these emotions. And if Macca hadn't punched Stuart Dew...
And he went on video too. He was he didn't actually get reported at the time too, so that was a bit controversial back then. So,
and here's another great story about Macca. Our club wanted to take that to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, and Macca said no.
It was uttered to him, and he said, "Pig's ass." He said, "This is about the team.
Yeah.
They don't need me. They'll win it without me," and we did.
Yeah.
And he was still a big part of the day as it was, but, gee, you want your heart and your soul there, don't you?
Hey, Rowie, now before we get to the coaching side and all that, one of other favourite memory of you is a Rowe family member. We were at a Norwood junior game. You're sitting with myself and with Andrew Pascoe, with Lockie Pascoe, of course, playing for Norwood Juniors, and Jimmy's playing for Woodville West Torrens. By the way, Alini Gufti umpired that day, and I said to you she'd be the first female AFL umpire that day, by the way. And we're sitting in the grandstand at Norwood. Now, let's be honest. At a junior game, everyone's in the Greater Western Stand. Now, Jodie turned up to come and watch, and she actually got lost finding us in the Greater Western Stand. She went to the wrong grandstand, and we were just pissing ourselves laughing in the other stand too, Rowie. I don't know your memory on that.
Oh, no. You got to, like I said, don't ask me anything.
Yeah.
I don't
that
know
was
whether
funny.
I've got too many concussions or something, but I can't remember what I did yesterday.
Oh, but that was bloody funny. Now, other things you've done too, painting with Froggy. You and Froggy took Adelaide by storm in the painting world, and Rocket was involved in that as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, we employed Rocket because he came off the farm. He used to commute playing for Norwood. Then the Crows came in and he moved to Adelaide. So
lived on Ashbrook Avenue. Yep.
Yeah, did well. So Froggy and I were partners. God, I did that right up, I reckon, till 93. And then I did my knee in 94.
Oh, yeah.
And I I knew I was going to struggle being a painter and an AFL player, if you like. So I got a sales rep's job after that with New Style Printing, and I was there for the next 24 years.
Yeah, you were New Style.
Were you doing also a little bit with mini scaff at one stage?
Oh, I did an ad because I was a house painter.
Yep.
This mini scaff thing came in,
Yes.
and they asked me to do an ad where I dropped a watermelon on the ground, and I said, "This bounces, you don't." And it was the only line I had in it. And the funny thing with that, I've seen the ad in the archives, and my car was in the background, and I had a sticker on the back of that car, Norwood and Sturt for the 97 AFL license.
Yeah.
Well, let's speak about that for a second. Obviously, that was mooted at one stage there. How did you guys feel as players about that?
Oh, they share the same song. That's about it.
Yeah.
I think the biggest travesty in this state's football history is Blind Freddie would land in our state in 1990 and said, what are the two clubs? Because we're going to have two clubs here eventually.
Mm-hmm.
What are the two clubs that should be in the AFL? And every person would say Port and Norwood.
Yeah, see, I'm not that way, Rowie. I'm not. I'm very much. The AFL played Port on a break. And this I will be honest, since we have revealed a couple of things so far on this, let's be honest, it may involve an interview with a certain W. Miller who knows everything. And they wanted a composite side first up and played Port on a break. And as much as we're Norwood people or Norwood and Port and all that, I still think that would have been unfair on everyone else. I still say there's, like the Eagles, I reckon it had to be a composite side first up. Now, I reckon the second with the licence, you can debate on that, whether Port deserved it for the treachery, but then they deserved it for how many, because they kept winning the bloody flags after that. Mm-hmm. That one's more debatable. But for mine, I still say it would have been unfair not to have everyone involved.
But also, how different would it be if it was Norwood and
Port
as
I
the
agree with that.
Two teams?
Who knows?
Yeah.
But, let's be honest. The other thing, when the Crows first started, for goodness sake, it was ridiculous. Like, we got 40 bloody thousand to a trial game. So it was quite incredible. And it was just so hot with the Crows. It was everything there for a while as well. So,
and then one Anthony Modra rolls up, and all of a sudden it's showtime.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he was great. I remember Cornsey saying back in 1990, after that Glenelg Port Grand Final, he made a comment. He said, "Be careful what you wish for." Now, that has rung true all these years later, because if you look at the landscape now, if you look at the sample, if you look at AFL, if you look at the fact that it's not the AFL, it's still the VFL.
Exactly.
And I reckon I'm one of the most outspoken critics about that. They say equalisation and fairness. No, there's not. It's still the VFL. Yeah, well, of course it is.
Yep.
So he was right. Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
The sample, it was a strong.
Yeah, bloody powerful, was. Yeah. Give me that every day. Still.
Well, I'm a businessman, first and foremost. Well, I'm a family man.
Yep.
But if you look at the balance sheets of the Waffle, the sample, and the VFL came third.
Oh, by a bloody long way too.
Now, it's a disgrace.
Yeah.
That competition. Now, whether they think it was better or not, was only a little bit better with the depth because they had 3 million people.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Like, it was a numbers game.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't run the comp better than us. Our balance sheets were stronger, but yet we've merged into them and they've weakened us. And
I know. And our money bailed them out. Yeah,
and our money bailed them all out.
Clubs were going to go under. The whole competition, VFL was bankrupt.
It was going to fall
apart, and it was. There wasn't this bloody big, huge gap. Yes, there was a fraction more depth. Yes, fraction more depth in terms of height. We probably lacked a bit of height over here, like Button, Davies, Red, and Carey, fantastic players, but they weren't the 6'8" to 6'10" monsters that they had a bit more than over here. But that was it. The bullshit that there was a big, huge gap is a load of crap.
Yeah.
So I'm very firm on that as well, Rowie. So after that too, now while we get into your coaching side of things, the other thing too, I'll give you your due. We won't name the couple of failures, but There was a Norwood boy who got picked up very high in a draft by Melbourne, and you said, no, won't play more than 10 games. And then you were a big push for Joel Patfull and tried to tell the Crows to pick him up and got rejected on that. And then look where he went, etc. So your record on, there's a few others as well. Grundy, you were a big fan of as well. You get a few ticks there because you said this all before they played. I'll give you that, Rowe. You nailed a few in that regard.
Oh, look, you know, you can say even a blind squirrel can trip over a nut every so often, but the reason I made calls like that is when you're coaching them and you see all their behaviours on and off the field, you get to know their character, you're a little bit more attuned and educated to make a call. I'm now sitting in the comfy seats in radio and I make calls.
Yeah.
And they're nowhere near as educated because I don't know them.
Yeah.
But I'm in the game of making comment, having
exactly.
a comment and an opinion.
Yeah.
So when you're in club level and you're training with them and playing with them, and I'll always respect that. When someone works with someone closely, they're going to be far better position of knowledge than what I am. So the reason I got those ones right back then is because I work with them.
Yeah. No, that's a well put way of putting it. So you were Norwood under-17 coach, and you were very successful with that. Then assistant coach at Glenelg, and of course you were involved at the state level for over a decade as well. Rowie, go through some of those experiences, mate.
Well, my dream after I finished playing was to be a coach, and that was my sole focus. And again, you sit down with Wally. What's the plan? How do you go? Well, Rowie, you're probably not going to walk straight into a senior job like Macca or a Neville Roberts, those sort of blokes. You're going to need to do your dues. And he said, the best coaches are teaching coaches. And to be a teaching coach, you need to coach the juniors.
Yeah.
So I said, well, give me the job at Norwood's under-17s then. I didn't want the 19s. Yep. I wanted the under-17s.
Yep.
And I did that for 5 years.
5 years, yep.
And I bloody loved it.
Yeah.
I honestly loved it. So I'm working away diligently, and I had in my head that I could go from that to a senior coaching position.
Yep.
Now, you do your math, who the bloke was that they gave the job to when I was still there, and I got my nose out of joint.
Yep. I don't
so,
blame you
you know,
that. Yeah.
Again, you go back to your mentors and the decision makers, and the next thing I was told to do was you need to go to another club.
Yep.
Go to another powerful sample club and now work at senior level as an assistant.
Yep.
So
Which
I said,
you did.
that's sound advice. Mark Micken, dear mate of mine, he was looking for a midfield coach. It fitted with my hours of what I was doing. And I said, done. I'll go and join Rubbers. I think I was with him for 7 years. We had relative success. We finished top. A couple of times went out straight sets, played in grand finals, worked with the Josh Carrs, the Richard Douglases, Bryce Gibbs, some fantastic players. I got to my second year of working with Mark Micken and seeing the hours he puts into each player, seeing the care he has for each player. He's a school teacher, by the way, and just the most beautiful man.
Yep.
The knowledge he had in football, how he could talk, how he could set a game up, structures, implement it. I would sit with him and our midfielders and go through tape. And after a year or 2 years, and this is the secret in life, you've got to know your level. Water finds its level.
Yep.
You've got to know your level. And I said to myself, I ain't ever going to be as good as him.
Okay.
So the dream of being a coach for Norwood stopped right there.
Okay.
Right there. It stopped. I thought, there's no way I could be as good as that. So why would I apply for a job for Norwood if I'm not going to be the best man? So I was happy to see my days out with Rubbers. He got lynched by the mob down there. He got sacked.
Yep.
And if he went out one door, I went out the same door.
Yep.
So we left together, and I've never been in a coaching position since.
How did you find, coaching at another club, a totally different environment to what you've known, obviously, at Norwood?
Well, it's different, isn't it? Because you're not pulling on the jumper. You're there to help senior coach and the playing group. And, it's like doing a different job. when you do something like that, you're all in. I love that club.
Exactly.
I love those players. Oh, my
Yeah.
God. I've been invited back to Hall of Fame inductees. I've had them say beautiful things about me and their development and all of that. And I loved it. I did. I'm not comparing it to Norwood. I ended up going back to Norwood and doing a review. I ended up being the chair of a Norwood review. So I've been asked to be on the board. I just don't have the time now, sadly. And I think there'll be a time where I will get back and give more to my club that I still love. But, it's just not the right time now.
Now, Double A, how did all that come about, Rowie?
How did that come about? In 1997, I got interviewed by Barry, Ian, and Pilco, Baz and Pilco.
What, to play the part of Peter Plus? Yeah, keep going, Rowie. I couldn't help myself, Rowie. Keep going.
Well, Plussy is actually in this story.
Okay.
So I got interviewed by him. It was a Crows issue, and remember, I've been sacked by the Crows, and I was playing for Norwood. They probably rung 20 people for a comment. No one would comment. So they bullfed me, and I did. From that, Baz quite liked, I guess, the cut of my jib. So about 2 weeks later, this was coming into the 97 finals, I got a phone call from the producer of the 5AA Brekkie team. Can I do a ad for Target, Corralta Park Target on Anzac Highway? And it's a paid gig. I got $50 or something. I was working at New Style. It was 7:30 in the morning. I thought, I can do that for $50. And I had no idea what it was. I got given a script. It was all ad lib. I'm talking on air, and then this bloody Peter Plus voice comes on and pays me out, like launches me. And I'm thinking, who the hell are you? Like that. And we've had this massive fight on air, Plussy and I.
Right.
Like a full-bore fight.
So you didn't know about Peter Plus?
No, didn't know anything about it.
Right.
I didn't know I didn't know anything. Anyway, didn't hear anything. We win the grand final. I get drunk for 3 weeks. Go back to work, and it would have been about early November. The producer of the 5AA station rings me and says, "Look, we're breaking up Baz and Pilco. Baz is going to put his Barry and Brekkie show together, and he's asked for 2 people. He wants Rowe Yu to be an on-road reporter and a bloke by the name of John Blake to be a comedian." Well, the rest is history.
Yeah, wow. That is
a good story, isn't it?
Yeah, it's huge. I did not know that at all about the Peter Plus. And, of course, over here in South Australia, it was legendary, the Peter Plus bit. So, it's surprising you didn't. And so when did then develop? So you're on the Brekkie show and all that. Keep going with. So when does the sports side of it come into play?
Well, I did the Barry and Brekkie show, I reckon, for 4 years as an on-road reporter. We did the show in New York. We did it in LA.
Yeah, I do vaguely remember that. Yep.
I love Baz. He is a radio genius.
Bloody oath.
A radio icon. He's a Hall of Famer, and they will never build another Barry Ian. He is an icon. Him and Fatty Francis, Jeremy Cordeaux, they don't make him like that. Truth be known, the quality of radio now as a craft, shit. Crap. And I tell you why it is crap. Because the do-gooders, the cancel council, whatever you call them, the political correctness has stifled, killed, muffled, and destroyed the Australian humour.
Yeah, no, and I think that's everywhere, Rowie. It's not just, it's obviously not just radio, but it's absolutely it's absolutely everywhere, Rowie.
Well, try being on radio, mate, and getting reported like I do and get complaints.
Yeah.
I talk about ease of business. So if you train real hard, have a great pre-season, you do everything right, you work on your weaknesses, when you play, it's a bit easier. There's an ease of business. You can attribute that to any walk of life. when I started radio with Barry Ian, there was an ease of business. The ease of business was I could just be me.
Yep.
Half the people hated it, the other half loved it.
Yep.
And that's the perfect little sync for a radio person. And I could just be me.
Yeah.
Now, there's that many things you've got to check, watch, be careful of. Don't say that. I mean, I get dumped probably three times a show now.
Yeah, it's that. Yeah, that's not.
That we all would have laughed at. 26 years ago.
Well, the classic example is we already talked about today as a part of one of our subjects is the horse rider wearing the mankini. I mean, a bit of fun, bit of levity, gets raked over the coals for it.
Anyway.
Yeah. So, Rowe, let's go to another thing then. When Jimmy got picked up by Adelaide, it was it was fantastic radio. Obviously, there's a few us Norwood people nice and pissed off that Jimmy's not a Norwood player. That's another story, as we both know, Rowe, in that way. I'm not blaming the number 3 in that regard. Maybe the other half. So anyway, but that was huge when Jimmy got picked, and then his first goal with you on air. Now, since you've gone out on your limb on this, I'll go out on my limb on this one.
I think
it is absolutely farcical that Lockie Murphy he's been added to the leadership group today. And this is nothing against Lockie Murphy whatsoever. Personally, I reckon he's a nice bloke. But how in the hell he's still on an AFL list and getting a regular game because he can chase a bit and tackle a bit compared to a natural footballer has me stuffed. I think it's a load of absolute crap, and I'm pretty glad too that Malcolm Blight disagrees with it as well. So, yeah.
Oh well, look, I'm not gonna get embroiled in that. What I will say is that the day he got drafted, because I know the hard work he put in, was the proudest day of the Rowe family.
Yeah, bloody oath.
Prouder than that was his first game. I thought he was fantastic.
Yeah, he was.
Played
he was
his
good.
role.
Yep.
I think from then on, as you do in an AFL system, they don't enhance your one wood. They try to improve what you're not good at. James doesn't like tackling. He likes getting the ball. And his football deteriorated to the point where he couldn't keep his spot. Isaac, and it's got nothing to do with Murph. Murph had a contract.
James but he shouldn't have had a contract. That's more my point.
Well, that's another argument.
Yeah.
But he's a different player than James. Don't compare him to James. They're different players.
Yeah, I know that.
I'm James's dad. I adore the kid. Yep. He's the loveliest lad. God, he's a good kid.
Yep.
And footy again won't define him.
Nah.
He's doing a degree and he's doing very, very well. Loves Samford, loves his club, loves his mates, drinks piss like his dad. He's a bloody ripper.
Yep.
But in the white corner, James Rowe. In the red corner is Isaac Rankin. Pick one.
Yeah, I know that, but I don't think he's competing. I still say, for mine, he's competing with Murphy for a spot. That's what it should have been. He shouldn't have had a 2-year contract, and then it would have been either Murphy or Rowe kept. That's where I'm on about. So,
do you know what I choose to do and what James chooses to do? We thank our lucky stars that a club, happened to be my club, shows my son. Not only did they choose him, they actually played him.
Yeah, now, I agree with that.
In 2 years, he played more games than me, and he's a better footballer than me. He just didn't have the longevity. But that's business and that's life.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair.
Speaking of James, how's he doing at the moment with the little injury that he had up on the river there?
Oh, it was terrible, to be honest.
Yeah. It's scary, right?
It was bloody terrible. He's still going to have an operation because where the cut is on is it his right knee or his left? I can't remember. There's a lot of dead tissue. So if he falls on the ground, it'll open up. If he clicks it with his finger, it'll open up. So he's got to have all that dead tissue cut out. So he's tossing up when to do that, or he's going to try and get through the season. But at least there's not an infection there. But yeah, no, it was bloody scary.
Yeah, but it sounds like out of that one, Rowie, though, if he lands and it opens up, it might get infected. It sounds like he might have to have the operation.
Oh, well.
From the way you say that.
Anything can be infected. What he had was golden staph, and he had an infection that from the river that they had to they had to culture the bug because they didn't know what the hell it was. No antibiotic was working, and then in the lab they had to get a manufacture a antibiotic that would kill it, and that took 8 days.
Yeah.
So his legs getting worse and 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 worse until they said, "Oh, now we've got the antibiotic." I swear to God, the first drip of that antibiotic, you could see it get better.
That's incredible, isn't it? So, geez, tell you what, thank Christ it wasn't too many more days though, Rowie.
Well, here's the thing. You know, we think football's the greatest thing, and people that play, we worship them.
Yep.
There was some girl or boy sitting in a lab in Sydney growing that culture under a microscope, and then over that desk was obviously another lad or girl who's spent their whole life studying, getting an antibiotic to kill that in a test tube to then manufacture and to put into a human that saves his leg.
Yeah, pretty bloody incredible, really, isn't it?
Well, don't you reckon?
Right. Oh, bloody oh, that's... Yeah, look.
And Adelaide and Australia in general have been very, very good at coming up with these things that can heal people relatively quickly. So,
oh, look, my sister's an anaesthetist, and she's done some operations with David, and they're the geniuses. You know, let's be honest, we're just sports nuts, and you're just a footballer. Where they're the ones, you know, what he's doing with craniofacial and all that. That's, and you know, sports wise, I said to Neegs, look, Neegs, I loved your 6 goals in the 82 grand final, but in reality, that means nothing compared to what you were doing for the disability sector with, you know, when he was leading the disability party. That's what really matters, not our, you know, whether we win or lose, really big deal.
Rowie, we have to ask some players that you've played against, you know, hardest opponents, maybe 2 or 3 of them, and players you've played with, 2 or 3 of them as well.
Oh, you always get asked this. Your hardest opponents are the ones you never beat. And there's one for me because of the career timelines of mine married up with this bloke.
I know what you're going to say, yeah. Keep going.
Well, it's Daryl Hart. Now, Daryl Hart was as good a rover, creative a rover as was in that era. Look at his record. Yeah. I say to myself, well, I had David Pittman or Tony Hall hitting it to me. They had Mick Redden.
Yeah, Redden was a gun. Yeah, Redden was a beautiful tap.
Ruckman make midfields.
Yeah.
Now, remember I said that. Ruckman make midfields.
Exactly why I do not rate Riley O'Brien whatsoever. I would hate to ruck to Riley O'Brien.
Oh. Well, you obviously listen to my calls.
Oh,
I think Malcolm makes one on a weekly basis, doesn't he?
I'm not. Yeah, I just look.
Oh, he's getting better.
Yeah,
well, I'll tell you this, right? The improvement for Port. I'm just going to pick them. Yeah. And remember, I said this: Ruckman make midfields. They got Rosie,
Butters,
Wines,
Horn Francis,
Drew, Butters, and Horn Francis. That's as talented a 5 as you'll get, right?
Yep.
They didn't have a winning ruck last year. So everything they did, they had to do hard. So
that's fair.
50, their footy inside 50 was poor. Or you kick it because it's always under pressure. Yeah. When a ruckman can hit it to a player who handballs to another player on the run, and they can give it free to 6-on-6, you watch the difference that will make.
Yeah, no, I agree with that completely. Yeah.
And they've recruited pretty well too. That also helps.
Oh, I hope they finish bottom. Yeah, and I hope they choke.
Yeah.
No, actually, I don't. I hope they make top 4. Crows beat them again twice, and they go out in straight sets.
Now, exactly. That's the perfect thing.
Year, isn't
perfect thing. Look, I call Roger James Lord Voldemort because I blame him for winning Port the 2004 flag. Rog ruined a lot of bloody jokes out of that. It's all his fault. So, yes.
Well, took a good Nord man to get Port to the grand final.
Yeah.
Well, and then KT ends up over there as well.
Yep. Yeah, on the dark side. Hey, Rowie, greatly appreciated. Always, some great memories, as I said, on that tennis court at 3 o'clock in the morning, etc. over the years, Rowie. Always obviously enjoy chatting with you on radio as well. Greatly appreciate your time tonight. Say hello to Jody. Say hello to Jimmy.
Before you
Thanks,
go,
mate.
give your radio show a plug.
Yeah, and radio and your new business. Let's be honest too, Rowe. Now give the windscreen business a plug as well, mate.
Well, I bought a business up on Main North Road called Complete Windscreens, family owned, 50 years. Ping a windscreen, ring 8269 4444. I'll pick up the phone, and if you plug this podcast, I'll knock $100 off a tint for you. How about that?
Yeah, we'll work. We get 3,000 to 4,000 listeners to this podcast, Rowe. So
good.
we will have a chat about that with a bit more seriousness. With let's try and do a deal if someone comes in and get a windscreen from us and something back to us. So we'll have a chat about that off here, Rowe.
And
you know me well. You know me well enough, Rowe.
Malcolm, take a deep breath. You're right. You don't want to. All right.
mate, we have to say one thing before we let you go. One last thing. Obviously, your co-host on the 5AA radio show, Timmy Ginniver. Great to have that Norwood rivalry, and you guys bounce off each other pretty well.
Well, you know the worst thing about that?
He's a good bloke.
Yeah.
That's the bloody problem.
He's just... Everyone loved him. Fucking Ginniver.
No, that's true, actually.
Well, we've had him on as a guest of the podcast as well, and you're right. There was not a bad word to be said, that's for sure.
No.
He's a good
long
lad.
way.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you, Rowe.
Thanks, Rowe.
See you, mate.
We'll chat. Thanks, Rowe.
And we thank Rowe there for his time, and he's not backward in coming forward, Rowe, is he? And really good to have him on the show. And like he said at the end there, that he's co-hosting obviously with Timmy G, and he can't stand that everyone loves him.
Look, with Rowe, a spade's a spade. It's always been that way. Maybe not always to his own advantage and all that.
Yep.
But look, there's never any bullshit with Rowe, and so appreciate that. With a couple of things he said to his own benefit, I'm probably a little bit nervous there, but look, we appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. And no, it's great to have Rowe on. And I thought, his honesty in, obviously his time at the Crows, and then obviously coming back to Norwood, and really understanding his role, and, that in the pecking order, he was probably third or fourth. But when he did get his opportunity, and Graham Corns even told him, you did your job perfectly. And if the teams had 24 players this day, he probably would have played 100 games at the AFL level. But we certainly loved having him back at Norwood, and like the little intro earlier on there, him at the 97 grand final and taking that mark, and, finishing up obviously on that note was really good.
Are dents and scratches putting a dent in your day? Introducing Roger Steen Crash Repairs Adelaide, your trusted solution for automotive woes. With over 2 decades of expertise, Roger Steen Crash Repairs guarantees top-notch service, restoring your vehicle to its former glory in no time. From minor dings to major collisions, our skilled technicians handle it all with precision and care, using state-of-the-art equipment and techniques.
Roger Steen Crash Repairs saved my car. It looks brand new.
Fast, friendly and reliable. I wouldn't trust anyone else with my vehicle. Don't let accidents slow you down. Visit Roger Steen Crash Repairs Adelaide at 14 Penner Avenue, Glynde, for quality service you can count on. And here's a special offer just for our listeners. Mention this podcast and receive a $100 discount on your repair. Roger Steen Crash Repairs Adelaide. Excellence in every repair.